All right. We are live. This is the Colts Bros podcast. I'm your host, Grant Sinning. Tonight, as always, I'm joined by Alex Jacobson and Garrett Stallings. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this free agency legal tampering period day?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm happy to be picking 12th overall in the draft. Where are the Bills picking? Yeah, 12th.
We can only hope so.
That's exciting.
We can only hope so. That trade became infinitely better the moment that trade was announced with Corey Glenn and the Bengals. I think it's a possibility that, I think that they got to creep up to get up to us, and so the pick calculator or whatever it's called says pick 12, 22, and 65 is an even trade for pick 3. I don't think that's enough.
No, that calculator, it's an average value, right?
No, I totally agree. But as a starting point, it's not even nearly close.
Well, we know that whoever would be trading up to pick a quarterback.
Right. So the quarterback tax is built into that. Yeah.
Yeah, you pay for that.
Not to mention that they've got to jump in front of the Jets and the Broncos and apparently the Dolphins.
And the catalyst for all of this was really the Tyrod trade.
Yes.
Before that. Because that's when we kind of knew that Cleveland was probably not going to spend its first pick on a quarterback. More likely the fourth pick. At least that seems intuitive. So, depending on what the Giants do, there's going to be a lot more competition for that second quarterback or first quarterback at 3. So, we're in a pretty good spot.
I just don't see how the Browns could look their fan base in the face if they don't take a quarterback at 1, even though they got Tyrod.
Well, if they're going to draft Josh Allen, I don't know. If that's their guy, I think they can count on him being there at 4.
No, I don't know. I don't have a good grasp of what the league's perception of these quarterbacks are, but for me, just watching these guys, I think watching these guys, to me, you don't really get. It's kind of it's a cluster at the top, and you can make an argument for about 3 guys, I think, or 4 guys for me probably, and Lamar, Mayfield, and the 2 California quarterbacks. I could see arguments for each of those guys as the number 1 guy. So if you want to wait till 4 and know you're going to get one of them, that's probably from an ideal perspective the best. But when you're trying to figure out a quarterback, you're going to convince yourself inherently that one is your guy, and to go through that and then just hope he falls there at 4 is something I'm still not sold is actually going to happen. But the odds now have it in Vegas that Saquon's the number 1 pick. So
right, that's what I'm saying. Well, it's not just waiting for him to be there at 4 or hoping that he will. They control the first pick. We control the third. They know that we're at least not going to take a quarterback. If it seems that likely that we'll trade down, that changes things. But really, it's just the Giants and maybe another potential team who would be taking quarterbacks before their second pick. So I don't know. I feel like they might be okay with that, depending on who their guy is and what they think the perceptions of him are.
Right. Yeah.
Considering they just got a guy who's going to start next year anyways.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair. But I don't know. They've played around this game for so long. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're talking about the Browns. So who knows?
You never know. They could just
draft 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, it might not be enough. They just go with Tyrod and 2 rookies and just say, hey, look, survival of the fittest.
Probably
we'll finally end up.
That's probably a smarter idea than taking Saquon, all things considered.
That's true.
Realistically, it's true. Now, I think really though the Giants, I think they got to take a quarterback too. Eli's
There's
37.
Yeah, there seems to be momentum building that they're not going to, but that I don't understand that at all.
I think they want to. The momentum is that they want one last hurrah on the back of Eli Manning.
That doesn't. They benched him last year. They were going to kick him off the team.
Well, that was Ben McAdoo, not Pat Shurmur.
True.
So, and that's what got Ben McAdoo fired.
That's true, but nevertheless, I mean, it's just such a turnaround. I just can't wrap my head around it.
I don't know. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
So let's say we trade with the Bills, and we've got pick 12 and is it 22? I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who are the ideal targets there at 12 and 22?
You probably.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, just some of my favorite prospects in that range would be Landry, one, as an edge rusher. And then probably the best, I mean, Derwin's really appealing too. I don't know if he would still be there. Probably if Minka goes higher, then Derwin might be there. Then you're talking about guys like Isaiah Wynn, maybe. Denzel Ward, perhaps, although his stock seems pretty red hot right now. So that might be unrealistic. And then I can't really speak toward the guys in the 20s as much because I haven't bothered with them prior to this point, but now it seems like I'll have to.
Yeah.
Alex, what do you think?
Go ahead.
Yeah, same for me. I think 12 is probably the last possible Roquan spot. But that seems just probably a little too late for him, which is okay because I don't think spending top 15 picks on inside linebackers is generally a good idea, even though he's a fantastic player.
Man, it would be so much fun.
He'd be so much fun. But I think Landry is probably my number one guy there. I don't know if we're going to talk about the combine later, but he tore it up.
Crushed it.
And then you watch the 2016 tape, and you see a completely different player than the 2017 tape in a positive way. So you take the 2016 tape plus the athleticism, and just on that, you have a top 5 pick. So I'm willing to throw out an injury-plagued season if it means I'm getting him at 9 or 12. And then Denzel Ward, Ohio State, would be a corner. It's looking like we're going to let go of Rashawn Melvin, and I think that's been an underappreciated need for the team as of late, and I would be totally supportive of that pick because I think he's a great player, and I think he is. I think he's a great player who also has certainly has the athletic profile you want for a guy that high, and same with Derwin. Then.
So
we'd have like 3 22-year-olds in our secondary.
It'd be insane.
Right.
I would love Derwin, even though I love Gathers. Derwin, to me, is just as good of a prospect as Malik Hooker was last year. He's insanity to me. I love. He was injured this year. For the beginning of the year, that 16 tape was something else. I know that's a big whoa, but he is extremely athletic. I mean, he is insane, and I love him. I love Landry at 12. I think you could end up with. I mean, Roquan could be there if someone wants to go with the upside of Tremaine Edmonds. I don't know. Realistically, though, let's take a look at it. You could have 4 quarterbacks in the top 10. I think that's realistic. I think Baker Mayfield, Allen, Rosen, Darnold go top 4. So if you're looking at 12, who's the last 8 players outside of Lamar Jackson? Nelson, Barkley, Chubb, Minka, Derwin, Roquan, Edmonds. That's 8. Well, no, that was 7. Sorry, Edmonds, and then like a Landry. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's 12 could end up with a very good player. And if someone's just like, you know what, I'm so desperate Lamar Jackson could go there too. Like, in that top 15 range. I don't know.
Well, I'm looking. So we've got, Giants, Jets, Bills, Broncos still. Other than that, who's looking for quarterbacks right now?
Cardinals, Dolphins.
That's right. Yeah, Cardinals would probably trade up maybe if
Cardinals
they really
don't have anyone on the roster. They literally don't have a contract signed for any quarterback. They have 0. So unless they're ready to re-sign Blaine Gabbert and roll with their first-year new head coach, which I doubt, so they've got to be aggressive. I'm trying to think. Ryan Tannehill's serviceable. It doesn't make sense for them to be like I've heard talks of them trading up to 5 to get a quarterback, which makes 0 sense to me.
I get in the fact that I don't think you're winning anything with Tannehill, and so you might as well go for it.
I suppose. That's really the only reason, though.
From a staying good perspective, it makes no sense. But for trying to become great, I guess you could say.
I'm not even sure how many wins they had in their best year with Tannehill. I'm actually going to look it up right now.
I think it was 10.
Yeah, that's not... And no playoff wins. So,
yeah. And they've had decent rosters around him. He's got pretty good wide receivers. He had Landry, he had Devontae Parker, had Ajayi for a while. And so
their defense has been dookie for a long time, though.
Yeah. It just got worse because they decided that Ndamukong Suh was their issue.
Yeah.
Their best player was their issue.
They're going through a culture change, Alex.
Oh.
So that means you got to get rid of Landry and Ndamukong Suh. And they cut someone else. Ajayi, obviously. And there's someone else that I'm thinking that they're trying to get rid of. Juwan James. So.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if he's a culture or a culture issue. I mean, he's just a guy who got drafted way ahead of his tape. But anyways, so let's talk about Ndamukong Suh. Today, first day of legal tampering, and the Colts have been linked to Deion Lewis, and that's really it.
That makes me happy. I like Deion Lewis.
I like Deion Lewis too. People forget that he was on the Colts.
Norwell got mentioned too.
He did?
He at just about half an hour ago said that the Giants are still considered the front runners, but in a bidding war with San Francisco and Indianapolis, which is probably just an agent saying, "Hey, look, New York Giants, they're willing to pay a bunch of money too. Look, they've got $70,000 space and cap, $20 million." So I don't know. I think Hitchens to Indianapolis is a foregone conclusion. What do you guys think?
Pretty close to it. I doubt he'll get a better fit anywhere else, but yeah.
Anybody else you guys kind of hoping for? Oh, A-Rob.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. This isn't going to happen, but I'm even potentially better than A-Rob or on the same level would be getting Sammy Watkins. I think that'd be so fun.
Getting them both?
No, just get him one. But as an alternative.
I don't know if I think Sammy Watkins is better than Allen Robinson.
I mean, I wouldn't call him better, I don't think, but I think he's in the same tier as a free agent. Although, actually, I bet his market's going to be cheaper.
Yeah, I would
think
think
it will be cheaper. And he does something that we don't have anyone on our team who can do. Yards after catch.
Yeah.
Like, T.Y.'s not that guy. So, I don't know. Let's see. Let's move on. Chris Hubbard. He's a guy that I'm really hoping they sign. Very underrated signing. Could be he was the Steelers' 6th O-line last year. Ended up starting 9-10 games. Great player. He can do everything on the line. Plug and play starter at right guard or right tackle. So he played left tackle some last year. Played left guard some last year. He's probably best on the right side. So I wish we could have signed I've seen Zach Fulton, who was a really intriguing prospect or free agent that I was hoping for. He's going to get $7 million with the Texans, is what I saw reported. That's way too much money for him. So, if he's getting $7 million, Norwell's about to get tackle money. So we'll have to kind of see how that rolls. But I want to talk to you guys about some of these defensive tackles. There are 3 guys out there who are considered locker room problems. Mo Wilkerson, Sheldon Richardson, and Ndamukong Suh. Would you sign one of those guys?
Yeah.
Which one?
I would. Again, it depends on the market. I think Wilkerson would be my top choice of the group.
That's also what I was going to say.
So where was Wilkinson? Sorry, let me gather my thoughts. In the Jets, he played 5-tech. Where's he playing for us?
That's the thing, is I think you could play him as an under tackle, 3-tech, but I think Richardson less so, but I think Wilkerson is a better fit in a 3-4, just slightly concerning, but I think he has the best resume out of any of those people to me. I mean, Sue's a better player, and I think Sue's proven more, but I think in terms of youth and I would prefer Wilkerson, but the fit is something that would need to be addressed.
Sheldon Richardson did pretty good in the 4-3 last year, but the Seahawks.
I've never been as high on him as a lot of people, but he did do well with Seattle. So
man, his tape coming out for the draft was so good. He was like one of the only. He was in the 2013 draft, I think. He's one of those first rounders who was any good.
That was a terrible class. I forgot.
Oh man, it's so bad. I mean, just go back and read some of those names. There's people not even in the NFL now, like more than half. I don't know. So let's go on. Let's see. Free agency, kind of boring for the first day because we don't really know much of anything, really. So, corners, I guess, real quick, corners. Alex, you said it's an underrated need. Any of these free agent corners strike your fancy?
Do you have a list pulled up? I can get that up.
Let's see. Tremaine Johnson, E.J. Gaines, Pierre Desir, Rashawn Melvin, just names off the top of my head.
I'll take Malcolm Butler.
Malcolm Butler, that's another
among those people. That's probably it. I mean, Edwards is, I wouldn't pay that much for Edwards not Edwards. Tremaine Johnson. I would pay that much for Johnson. I'm looking at the list. It's really not that. Maybe I'd do E.J. Gaines. I like E.J. Gaines. But they'll probably have to go with some middle of the pack corner in free agency and a draft prospect. So maybe a guy like Aaron Colvin, if he hits free agency, I think that could be a good fit. The same with
he plays slot though, right?
Yeah, he'd be nickel.
Yeah. In terms of outside guys, maybe DRC. I don't know. I need to look more in depth, but
Delvin Breaux's a free agent.
Oh, I like Delvin Breaux. That'd be fun.
He broke his leg last year, I think, right?
Means he's cheap.
Yeah, he would be cheap. Rashad Breeland, he's not good.
Oh, he's terrible.
Yeah, he's real bad.
I watched just enough Redskins to know he's bad.
He's real bad. Man, some of these names on this list are awful.
Yeah, it's actually making me more convinced that we should draft a corner.
Yeah, we probably will have to, man. I'm looking at this list. It's bad. When Darrelle Revis makes a list, Terrence Newman's still on the list. He's 39 years old.
Yeah, no, but I think that is something. Is that if you look at our corner depth, we all like Quincy. He hasn't proven himself to be a starter, but I think you feel comfortable with him as a starter. So
yeah,
you don't really worry about that. But I mean, then you go down the list, and we all like Hairston, but we don't love him, and he's a nickel guy who's limited and showed a lot last year, but you're not wanting him as your second best corner. And then the rest of the guys, like Kenny Moore,
that's it.
And
there's three.
Yeah. So it's really it was one of the strengths of the team last year, you could say, except they kept getting injured. But the cornerbacks were one of the strengths. But two of those guys are free agents. I doubt either comes back, and those were your probably second and third best corners.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. DJ White is on the roster.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
So yeah, I think that targeting. I think you'd have to double dip in free agency in the draft, but I think a guy like Ward, if we trade back to that 12, suddenly becomes a really real possibility.
All right, let me ask you this, and I know what Jay would say to me if I asked this question. Does it not concern you he's 183 pounds?
Not really.
I mean, let's talk about the prototypical number one. They're going to have 40 pounds on him.
I think he's really good, so I'm not going to worry about that. There have been small guys like him succeed. He's short, but he's not ridiculously short, and I just think he's an exceptional athlete and was a dominant coverage player. The entire Ohio State defense was predicated on playing simple man-to-man coverages and letting the corners be on an island, and that only worked because Denzel Ward could shut down the number one weapon on the other team. So, and I trust that to carry over to the NFL to at least a certain extent. So, I'll take him even if he's small.
Fair enough. I thought I'd ask the question. We should inform our listeners. So let's talk about. We got some size. We got some measurements. Combine. We're doing this quick 30-minute show. We probably got about 10 minutes left. Talk about guys who blew up the combine. So, Garrett, you said earlier Harold Landry blew up the combine. Man, I'm looking at his mock draft right now. I had no idea. 99th percentile, 60-yard. 91st percentile, 20-yard. 95th percentile, 3-cone. 72nd percentile, broad. 82nd percentile, vert. 87th percentile, 40-yard dash. Holy crap.
Yep.
And he's really good. I mean, like, really, really good.
It's that 2016 tape that really sells me on him more than last year.
So, people who were listeners of the Draft Indie podcast would remember that 3 years ago, we did a podcast about Shaq Barrett versus Harold Landry in, like, September. I have been on him since then. I love him. I thought his tape only got better until obviously this year, which his tape was bad. Now, criticism.
You mean Shaq Lawson, right?
Shaq Lawson, yeah. Sorry, Shaq Barrett was the year before, but I meant Shaq Lawson. Good call. Is he still with the Bears or the Bills? I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Good call. But man, he's fast, and I think his tape from 2016, if he would have came out on that tape, he would have been a top 5 lock. Now he's looking like he could be in the teens because of his tape from last year, which was injury plagued. So it'll be interesting. Anybody else you guys want to hit on about? I mean, what did we learn from the combine? What were some good lessons from the combine?
I thought it was mostly pretty predictable in terms of the people who did really well. We kind of expected to do pretty well. Guys like Ward really helped their stock, and people like Nelson kind of solidified their position as elite prospects. On the whole, though, I don't remember being really taken aback one way or the other, except for the games.
Yeah, to me, the only thing that was, I think some guys just confirmed what we thought. I think Derwin, it was good to see him fully recovered and flash as a dominant athlete. Same with Landry, too. And then I think the biggest concern for me was the biggest takeaway for me was the up and down day of Bradley Chubb, who further solidified my mind that it is team trade down, because he was really good for the first 80% of the day, and then the 3-cone comes out, and he posted a 7.373 cone, which to those who don't follow the draft is like horrific. It's probably bottom like 10%.
It's 27th percentile.
Yeah, we had the last like really top tier rusher who had that kind of 3-cone concern was Clowney, and Clowney was a whole tenth of a second higher, which is a huge difference. So yeah, I'm a little worried about that. He did well in the explosion drills. He had really good jumps. He ran pretty well, but just that 3-cone is such an important trait for a rusher, and it's certainly, I think, not maximized. That weakness isn't maximized based on his playing style, which is more predicated on power anyway, and be able to go inside rather than being like an outside speed rusher. He can dip inside and just beat people with strength and maybe initial burst rather than change of direction on the outside. But I think he's still a good player, and I'm still not sure I'd take anybody over him at 3, but I don't think that, except maybe Landry. I might make that claim.
Yeah, I don't know if he's
like a week later, but
it's actually bad enough to make his top 3 top edge status questionable.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
No, I don't mean. Sorry, I meant top 3 in the draft, and also one edge. Sorry, that was poorly phrased. So
yeah,
I think that guys like Minka and Landry and even
Nelson.
Nelson and Derwin even are more comparable to him now.
Agreed. I think he's still my top guy, but that's
just because of need, basically.
Just because of the position he plays, and I think he's still going to be good. But it's trade down.
And I almost wonder if a 34 team wouldn't take him and put him at defensive end.
That would be a disaster, in my opinion. But
he needs like 10 pounds. He's at 270. He's right there. But what he is good at is that power from, you know what I mean? I don't know. I
know what you mean. I just never liked that fit. I always think it's awkward.
I don't know. It'd be weird. I just don't know what... I mean, I really like the prospect, and I think that he's got a lot of ability, but when it comes to NFL playing the edge, you have to be able to be bendy, and that is what the 3-cone measures. Is bendability and agility through bend. And when you're in the 27th percentile, it's scary. You can be, your get up, your get off, your 10-yard split, your jump's going to be great. But if you can't bend, then you're limited. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him. And if we take him, I'll still be ecstatic because I think he's a great player. But you're right. I mean, if we were to take a guy like Landry over him, I'm not really going to be. I don't know. I feel like at that point, just trade down if you can. But
yeah,
that's kind of where I'd be. I think one of the biggest lessons learned out of the combine this year was that these linebackers are who we thought they were.
And some.
I did nowhere in any world ever expect Leighton Vander Esch to test like he did. Like, he's good. And I said he was good. But, 90th percentile in jumps, 85th percentile in the 3-cone and shuttle, and the 65th percentile in the 60-yard shuttle at 6'4", 256. That's pretty impressive. So
yeah,
I think he's a target at 22 if we were to make that trade.
And honestly, if we took him at 12, I wouldn't be too bummed because I think he has the talent to play there. I said that before the combine, and certainly I'm going to say that after. I just don't love taking linebackers that high, but he is phenomenal. So, and I was like super high on him, but I didn't see this. I didn't see this at all. So that is just a great sign. It's not like he's an athlete and you didn't see that on tape, so you have to revisit it because he didn't show he was an athlete on tape. It's just he didn't show this was. He showed he was a good athlete. I don't know if he showed this, but that just means he has this whole other gear he could potentially tap into.
Right. Now, Edmonds didn't do anything with the 40. Roquan didn't do anything. I don't know if I think he just came and got measured.
Didn't Roquan run? I thought Roquan won.
I can't remember. Let me see. But
yeah, Roquan was like a 4.55, which is great for him. He just came in a little small.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine for him. Yeah, he was just barely 6'1".
Yeah.
94th percentile for linebackers. Now, the best part, I think, for me about the Combine is that I'll watch. For me, my process for draft watching is I'll watch the big names. Who's everybody talking about? And then you go get some athletic profiles. And then, after the Combine, then you can like really sit down and dig into some of these lesser-known guys. Two guys I want to talk about. Sleeper for maybe round 3 or later picks. Fred Warner, BYU. He's his athletic profile is great. Above 70th percentile in 3-cone, broad, vert, 40-yard dash, etc. So very good, athletic profile. 6'4", 240. And another guy I'm very interested in. Saw him on the timeline the other night. Jannard Avery from Memphis. Be very interested in watching some of his tape outside of Twitter clips.
I watched a little bit of Avery. I wasn't blown away, but I'll revisit. I still need to watch Warner. But there's a lot of depth to this linebacker class,
yes.
Which is really nice to see. Yeah, which is perfect for a team that already has is likely going to target in later rounds. And if we make this Buffalo trade, we will probably get some mid-round picks to along with the top picks. So
because if we go into the 2018 season with 0 starters from 2017, that's a good thing. So 0 linebacking starters. So I mean that would be a wonderful thing. Some other running backs. Saquon, he's different. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about him. He's an alien. But I think you got some confirmation on some guys, Michelle, Chubb.
Chubb did really well, too.
Chubb did a lot better than I think a lot of people expected him to. But it makes me, it's one of those, it's one of those that make you go, it's just one of those things you think about because, he did really good in the Combine, but his tape didn't show, his 2017 tape didn't show some of that speed, I guess. But then again, he's not really a speed runner. I don't know if that makes any sense. He's a power guy. So that'll be interesting. I'm a big fan of Chubb. Michelle's still my guy, but there's a lot of guys in that second round. I'm looking forward to hopefully drafting at least one of them, especially if we can pick up another second if we do end up doing this trade. So, other than that, I think I would be remiss if I didn't hit on the best Combine performance of the year, Orlando Brown. I really like Orlando Brown's tape, and everyone knew watching him that this is a big slow dude. But 0th percentile 40, 0th percentile vertical jump, 1st percentile broad jump, 1st percentile 20-yard shuttle, 1st percentile bench press.
Can I say, I'm rooting for him so hard now.
Yeah.
Look, Zach Banner was way worse than this guy. I just want everyone to know that. I watched a lot of Zach Banner tape after we drafted him last year, and I'll tell you this. The difference between Zach Banner, who tested comparably to Orlando Brown, and Orlando Brown is that Orlando Brown knows how to use his 6'7" 7/8" frame, where Zach Banner did not. He was a waist bender. All those terms that you hear. Orlando Brown actually has good technique. I would still be very concerned about a speed person coming around him. You've heard people say, I don't think he's going to get drafted anymore. Yeah, he's a day 2 pick still. So, hopefully not by us. But he's still going to be a day 2 pick because people are going to look at him and be like, Look at this 6'8", 245 dude with 85-inch wingspan and 35-inch arms. LaRaven Clark got drafted. Orlando Brown's going to get drafted. Day 3 or day 2 probably. So it'll be interesting. So any other things you guys wanted to hit on before we did this? I mean, it was just a spur of the moment type thing.
I really like these running backs, but I hope we sign Lewis so that we don't draft one in the first few rounds. And Jerry Alexander is a pretty interesting cornerback option as well, especially if we get a pick in the 20s.
Yeah, I think just for me, I'm going to look more closely at these corners now because that is really coming to the forefront as one of our bigger needs. So, and it's a good class.
Oh, you said Jair Alexander, and yes, very good option. I'm a big fan of him. As a Stanford guy, Quentin Meeks, what's up with him?
Yeah.
He's good, right?
He is good. I would think he would be a nickel option. I think probably Justin Reed, actually, the safety, is the better DB prospect between the two of them. But
I agree.
They're both very good. They both have good ball skills and could make an impact. But I don't think that Meeks is a first-round prospect. I think that Reed is fringe first-round prospect.
No. Justin Reed's definitely a second-rounder, I think. Because I think if you look at the strong safety class, it's Derwin.
With Derwin
I think Derwin and Ronnie Harrison from Alabama, and then Justin Reed. So
right,
but
and
I think
probably a second rounder, but that's good value.
So one of the things, real quick before we last thought, is everyone talks about each year's next class. Next class. Beginning of the year, we're like, man, this is a terrible class. There's not really any good players. Is that a trend that we're just starting to get every year? Like, I mean, yeah, there's Quentin Nelson and Saquon. Quarterbacks kind of suck. But there's a lot of good players in this draft. Am I wrong?
I don't think the quarterbacks suck. I still think this is a pretty good quarterback class.
Yeah, I think this is actually a good quarterback. Yeah, this is one of the better ones we've seen in a while.
I mean, in a while, yeah, but
I really like Baker and Lamar, and I mean, I think that Darnold and Rosen can do really good things. So that alone is a pretty good quarterback class, and then even Allen as a fifth guy is really interesting. Of course, he'll probably go higher than that, but still.
I'm telling you, this year's class is so intriguing that I really think that we'll have 5 go in the top 5, or top 5 go in the top 15, and I think we'll have a 6 pop up by the end of the first round.
There's been some
Mason Rudolph's going to get drafted in the first round.
I won't go that far, but I think he's got a good chance because I don't actually. I take that back. He's got a good chance, but I don't know why. I was gonna say I know why, but I don't know why.
You know why?
Tall and white and was throwing to James Washington.
Yeah, and Marcel Aitken.
Yeah, but I swear every week on my timeline I saw like a 50-plus yard pass from him to James Washington. So that's why he's getting drafted.
Yeah.
Looks good in shorts, man. Can't deny that. So, but anyways, this was an impromptu Colts Bros podcast. Hopefully, we'll get you maybe one more in the next 2 weeks. I personally will be in California next week, and the week after that, I will be out of pocket as well. So, we'll be back as soon as we can. So, looking forward to seeing you guys then. And from now until then, have fun with Twitter.